Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Anyone? Why is there no audio? Right, cool. Right, that's what I thought. It's always the same, always the same. Anyway, hi guys, very welcome to my Friday night live stream. I hope you're all doing fantastic as always, wherever you are. I am sitting in a hotel room here in London, and I thought, what better way to spend the time than to spend it with you guys. As always, ask away your questions. I can tell you a little bit what I'm doing. I have just come here. I was in Barcelona a few hours ago, and now I've flown in, and I am going to do a few simulator sessions, do a few simulator tests on my colleagues tomorrow and the following 3 days, and then I'm going to fly back to beautiful Catalonia again. So, in the meantime, I have quite a lot of time on my hands, so I am working on my upcoming application, the new one that I'm hoping you're all going to love. And on top of that, I'm working on some other projects that I also think that you're gonna like. But I am busy, so fire away with your questions, guys. I have quite a lot of time on my hands now, so just me, my cup of coffee, and you guys. Ali Dudu, easiest way to make it to become a commercial pilot. Well, there are no easy ways, guys. You are going to have to go through the same kind of certification tests and requirements as everyone else. What is easy for you might not be easy for someone else. Like, for example, the integrated route is the most compressed way of doing it. You can do it in about 15 to 18 months. But it requires you to do all of the exams during those time, which are 14 exams plus all of your flight exams and your flight training as well. So it will put a lot of demand on you guys to work hard, but you will be able to do it in a very short time. However, if you go through the modular route, instead you'll be able to have more time. You can stretch it out over a longer period, and that might be easier for some, but it will also be a little bit harder to focus. It'll put more pressure on you personally to keep your studies going and so on. I hope that makes sense. Harrison Burns, are the aviation industry planning for when oil runs out? The aviation industry is very reactive in the way that it works. This means that if something becomes a problem, they will react to it. They will, of course, plan ahead, and they do so by hedging fuel, for example. So now when the fuel price is low, they hedge the fuel prices for a couple of years to come in order to know what the cost will be. In terms of actually preparing for peak oil, for when oil starts running out, I don't think that there's much preparation. I know that Virgin Atlantic, for example, was doing some experiments on using a renewable type of fuel that was based on algae, I believe, basically making a new type of fuel. But the problem is that oil, as in when it comes to energy sources for aviation, it's a bit tricky because you need to have an energy source that works in a lot of the extremes of temperature, both from really, really low temperatures up to really, really high temperatures, and produces the same amount of energy. Now, when you're driving on the surface with a car, you can exchange oil in cars. That's perfectly possible. But the amount of energy that you need in order to drive an aircraft, and at all different altitudes and stuff, it requires much more out of the fuel. So it's much harder to find something else to drive aircrafts on than petroleum, which is what we're using now. So the answer to your question is no. I don't think that there is any plan in force for when oil runs out. But then again, humans, we as a species are very good at coming up with solutions to problems. So if it turns out to be a problem, all of the great minds of the world will figure something out. So I'm not too worried about that. Bartek G, how difficult is the ATPL theory? Well, that's a little bit like asking how long is a string. It's quite demanding. I don't think it's necessarily very, very hard, as in you can wrap your head around it and understand it. The problem with the ATPL theory is the sheer volume of information that you need to compress into a fairly short amount of time. So, but it does require you to have studied in school and to have understood your math, your physics, and stuff like that. Because without that foundation, it'll be very, very hard to go through some of the more technical subjects in your ATPL theory. But it's definitely doable, guys. It's just a matter of hard study. Blackout Barbie, have you ever been to Romania? No, I haven't been to Romania yet, actually, but I suspect I will be flying there soon. Sumimasen Banzai, would you recommend to split the ATPL theory into different sessions? I'm not sure really what you mean, because that is normally the way it's done. You normally split it into 2 different sessions where you study for a couple of months, and then you do 7 subjects, and then you study for another couple of months and do another 7 subjects, or things like that. But yeah, the more you can split it up and concentrate on one subject at a time, the easier it will be for you. But that's going to be up to your school. And actually, these are questions that you should be asking to my mentor cadets at the moment, because those are the ones that are really in the ATPL theory. Ali Dudu, is the BA apprenticeship a good idea? Of course it is. Any kind of apprenticeship which means that they will pay for your training is a good idea. BA is a fantastic airline. It has a lot of good routes, and from my perspective, there's very few downsides to it. So if you can get into a BA apprenticeship, congratulations, go for it. Malik Aviation, what were the steps you did to become a pilot? Well, in my case, I started off applying to a government-sponsored program in Sweden, which I've told people about before. Actually, I'm thinking about doing a couple of new videos on that, because I did them quite long ago and the quality is not great. So I'll probably do a video on that soon. But yeah, I applied to it after having... Well, I should start over. When I was about 14 years old, when I learned about the fact that I wanted to become a pilot, I started looking at different ways of becoming it. So I knew what the different ways were. And the best way for me was the Swedish government-sponsored program. But I knew that in order to get into there, I need to have really, really good grades. So I started already when I was in the 7th or 8th grade in Sweden, and started really, really working to increase my my grades and getting better and better, because I knew that the only way to be perfectly sure to get a chance to come down for tests was to have perfect grades. So I worked my butt off for at least 3 years in order to increase my my grades, which were kind of average when I started, and they were top notch when I finished. And that was just through pure determination and through knowing that what I wanted and how to achieve it. So when I reached the that level, I was asked to come down for some tests, and I did the tests. The test did not go very well, at least not in my view, but I did them good enough to scrape in and actually get accepted. And then I went through and I did all of it's kind of like an integrated course that we did for 2 years, got my licenses, then I did my military service, and after that I went for my multi-engine and my MCC course, and after that I started applying for the airlines. Aseno Sarpong, I'm 34 years old. How long will it take to become a commercial pilot if I start now? Well, if you go through a integrated course, you can do it in 2 years. Otherwise, it can take as long as, well, as you have, basically. 34, it's still okay. You should start to move on, to start to work on it, but you're still not, you're basically never too old. Mr. Cool 5, is there any training for decision making? Yeah, there is. Actually, the airlines, especially my airline, we go through modules of CRM training, which includes decision making, obviously. So during a 3-year cycle, we go through all of the technical systems of the aircraft, but also all of the different CRM subjects, and they include things like decision making, communication, everything you can think about. So yeah, we do courses in decision making, and we do have models to follow. We follow a model called PIOSE, stands for problem, information, options, select, and execute and evaluate. So those are the steps we go through if we have a very complex system, complex problem. we think through it, we gather the information, we talk about what different options we have, we select the option we think is the best one, then we execute that one, and during the execution we evaluate what happened, and then if something needs tweaking, then we kind of tweak that and change it. So it's a process that's ongoing, but that's the way that we work. E. McDiamond, have you ever had to deal with an engine failure or damage? Not in flight, actually. I've had an engine breaking down while I was starting it, but nothing. I mean, these engines are extremely good. Okay, very, very rare that something goes wrong with them. I don't know how many engine failures there is globally per year, but there's not many. So during 15 years, I've never had an actual in-flight engine failure, but we do practice them every 6 months. And obviously, I'm instructing about it all the time, and it will come up in the next app that I'm releasing. So don't worry, you will see all about it. Claudio Vico, how are you, mentor? I'm great. I am actually very good. I have a little bit of backache after my adventure on snowboard. I've been up in Andorra doing snowboarding for 2 days, and I haven't done it for a year. So I've discovered muscles that I didn't even knew I had. But apart from that, I am great. What else do we have here? I hope you still can hear me, guys. Otherwise, you'll have to tell me. Ali Dudu, how long have you been a pilot for? I've been a professional pilot for 15 years. I've been a first officer for 4.5 years, and then the rest I've been a captain and a training captain. Are you in a hotel, bootleg? Yeah, Bernie, good to see you, man. Yes, I am in a hotel. I'm in Holiday Inn outside of Stansted, actually. Understanding you, mentor, can you do a video on aircraft maintenance engineering course? Not really, because to be perfectly honest, that is not my area of expertise. I could potentially find an engineer and interview them to talk about what their job is and what it entails and stuff. But I don't know anything about engineering courses, so it's unlikely that I will make a video on that. Neil McGovern, hey Neil, good to see you, man. Let's see. Did you have a question, Neil? Because I must have missed this here. It's like 200 questions a minute at the moment. So just repost it again. Neil is one of my patrons on Patreon. He's making a huge contribution to this channel. I'm very, very grateful to all of my patrons. If you guys feel like you want to help out, then that's the way to do it, because it enables me to do loads of stuff, contact people, rent things, and just increase the overall quality of the channel. So if you want to do like Neil and go into to my Patreon page and support the channel, because it really helps. Dimitri K, what is good airmanship? Right, how am I going to explain that? Good airmanship is very, very close to what I would consider to be common sense. Okay, if you apply what normal people refer to as common sense to the way that you operate, it's likely that you're going to be very close to good airmanship. Good airmanship is knowing what you're doing, having good theoretical knowledge, knowing and respecting your colleagues, listening to your team members, and always striving to get the best possible and safest possible outcome out of every situation. And the only way to do that is actually knowing what you're doing, and having that as goal, not having the goal of just having a nice short day or getting home as quickly as possible or stuff like that, but actually focusing on doing the job that you are being hired to do in as a professional and good and safe way as possible. And basically using your common sense. That is how I would say that airmanship comes about. It's going to be different for every situation that you find yourself in. You are going to find a different way of where good airmanship comes in. So it's very hard to kind of put your finger on saying this is good airmanship and this is not. Every situation will be different. So I hope that makes sense. Technostat, how hard is it to get a job placement these days? fairly hard. I'm going to be honest and say, and getting your first job is going to be the hardest part. Like, um, well, getting funding to get your licenses is probably the hardest part. But then after that, once you have your licenses and everything sorted, then finding your first job is going to be hard. And there are precious few um, places where you get a job before you start your training. So it's going to be all about you. Um, sending in applications, pulling all of the levers that you can to try to find that first job, making sure that you get good pass grades on your theoretical exams and your flying exams and things like that, and then preparing. Just preparations for interviews, for entrance exams, things like that. Extremely important, guys. Tea or coffee at the moment? Coffee. Just wait a few guys. I'm just going to see. It's my wife calling on the other phone. I will call her back in a second. Cool. More questions here. Hi, Petter. How many checks do you have during the year? Right. So if you mean my personal checks, I need to have my line check, which is a check that is done in the aircraft by another line training captain. They are checking out that I'm following my SOPs and I know what I'm doing and things like that. And then every 6 months I have to do either an operator proficiency check, an OPC, or a license proficiency check, which is an LPC. And on top of that, I have a medical exam, and I have safety and security course and exams, and I think that's about it. And then the thing with line checks is that since the line trainer is checking both you and the first officer, if you have done your line check but your first officer needs a line check, then you're going to be line checked again. So you can theoretically have as many line checks as you have days during the year, but more normally you only do 1 or 2. Drums for life. Hey Captain, what is your favorite kind of approach? Well, this is interesting. Like from a pure safety point of view, I enjoy doing normal ILS approaches because they are by far the most exact approaches and they're easiest to fly, which means that they're also safest. From a personal point of view, what is more fun to do would be probably visual approach, which is also quite controlled nowadays, but it's a little bit more stick and rudder, a bit more handling of the beast. Circling approaches we do very rarely, but when we do, they're exciting. They take a lot of preparation and CRM, but they're interesting to do. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions. Let's see. What is your favorite aircraft? Well, I like my aircraft. I like the 737 that I'm flying. I would love to try the 787, the Dreamliner. Previous to that, the 747 is always going to be the queen of the skies, and the Concorde, of course. If I would have had my chance to get my hands on a Concorde, I would have loved to fly one. Pablo Gutierrez, hi Captain. Do you need an FAA license in order to fly in the US? Not to fly in the US. You can fly if you fly with an airline that flies into the US, you need to have the license of the airline that you're flying for. But in order to work from the US, you need an FAA license. That is correct. Andre, good evening. Good evening to you. How tall can you be as an airline pilot? I'm 194. Well, this differs. Okay, I get a lot of questions about this. So I'm glad that I get a chance to answer it. So from the lowest point, as in the shortest you can be, you need to be able to reach and make full deflection on the rudder pedals, as well as you're sitting and watching over the instrument panel. So generally speaking, that's around 160 centimeters, somewhere around there. It's probably a little bit of margins. On the top bit, on the how tall you can be, that tends to be around 2 meters ish. I'm not sure if I've actually seen an upper limit, but you can't be so tall that when you're sitting at the furthest back in this chair, you hit your head on the overhead panel, because it's a question of ergonomic, but around 2 meters, I think is okay. 194 is definitely okay. No worries. I've flown with first officers that's been around 2 meters, so don't worry. Um, let's see more. So ABX, if you went on holiday, could you fly with would you fly with a low-cost carrier or with a flag carrier? I would fly with the airline that would take me in where I'm going to go at the time that I want to go there. So I mean, I operate for low-cost carrier. I like flying with them because they're really flexible, and normally they have very good destination timetables and stuff like that. Going long haul, I tend to fly with flag carriers, and that's only because they tend to be the ones that do those routes. I haven't tried Norwegian long haul yet, but I would like to. Uh, I don't really put any emphasis on what airline I fly with, to be honest, unless it's a super long haul and I want to fly maybe premium economy or business in order to get a little bit better rest. But apart from that, as long as it's an airline that is safe and secure and has a good reputation, I don't mind which airline I fly with. I really don't. Um, so, what would you suggest? That this is the DVD 31. What would you suggest to do in order to keep up the theoretical knowledge while instructing? Yeah, I mean, this is as with everything else. There's no shortcuts around here. You're just gonna have to keep reading. Like, it's the same when you get into an airline job. You can just sit on your ass and kind of study just for the exams and stuff. But in order for you to be really successful and to know what you're doing, you're gonna have to continuously read up in the manuals. There's constant changes in the airline worlds when it comes to SOPs and things like that. You have to continue to read. Um, when you're an instructor, you will be forced to study, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to answer the questions that your students have, and that doesn't really feel good. And trust me, when I was new, I had to spend hours looking for answers to questions that students had for me. So it's just a matter of keeping yourself current with whatever it is that you're instructing. Make sure that before you do a session, before you do an instructional session, you read up on the subjects that you're going to instruct on, because you're there to add value to the student. That's your primary job, and the only way you can do that is being read up and knowing what you're talking about. Right, more questions. There's loads of. Lovely to see you all here, guys. By the way, it's 142 of you now watching. I think these live streams are great, um, especially the way that you interact and stuff. I really hope that you will like my new application that's about to come out. I'm going to release details about it very soon. I think you're going to really like it. I based it on your feedback. More questions here. You watch HME123. How often do you have holidays? Well, for example, I'm going to be off for almost the entire month of February. As an airline pilot, you have what tends to happen is that you get around 28 days or even more of annual leave days that you can take out. Those normally include public holidays as well, because you might be working on public holidays. Now, then you are going to have to apply to your airline about the dates that you want. Systems are different in different airlines, and then you will either get the leave approved, so they will plan it in, or you won't, and then you're going to have to reapply for another. And there's going to be hard to get annual leave during certain holidays, for example, because everyone wants Christmas off or Hanukkah or whatever your religion might be. So you can always try and apply for those dates, but it's unlikely that you'll get them. It's more likely that you'll have annual leave during the winter than during the summer. And if you work for an airline like I do, which allows wraparound days, it means that if you're working on a 5-4 roster, which is 5 days working and 4 days off, then you can take 5 days of annual leave. And with the wraparound, you get 4 days off, 5 days annual leave, and then 4 days off, which gives you a total of 13 days with only using 5 days of annual leave. That means that those 28 days of annual leave you can get is going to give you quite a lot of days off during the year. So you can easily go for 2-3 long trips a year if you want to. Ali Dudu, once again, is there a weight limit for pilot? You can't be obese. You have to be fit enough to get your class 1 medical, and then you need to be fit enough to get into the chair. But there's no weight limits per se. But you need to be healthy. If you're a little bit overweight, that doesn't matter. But you can't be obese because it will not work. Neil. Neil, I see that you keep giving you keep answering questions for people instead of asking questions yourself. Thank you for that. It's very helpful. Um, there's so many questions here, guys. I'm just gonna try to stop you here. So, Ryan, mentor, what is your thought about Muslim women being a pilot? It's great. The more women we can get into the cockpit, the better it is. They are very normally the female pilots that I've been training have been very good at what they do. I have no when it comes to religion and race, there is absolutely no difference whatsoever, and they shouldn't be. Muslim women should fly as well as Christian women, as well as Eskimo women, as well as whatever. It does not matter. As what matters is your attitude. Okay, your attitude and your skills and your gender does not matter. Your background does not matter. It's your skill and your attitude that we're looking at. That's it. Hi, mentor. Do you have this is Christian Sisek. Do you have any influence on the place that you're being based in? It's a great question. I'm just gonna take a little bit of coffee here, otherwise I'm gonna lose my voice. Place of basing. Yeah. All right. So this is it. When you join, and you're joined as a cadet, you have very little to say about your basing. The reason being that you're flexible. In normal cases, you can take whatever base there is. Most people are very young when they join. They don't have family or anything like that holding them in a specific place, which means that they can go wherever they need to go. And you also need to build up a little bit of seniority in order to have a say in where you're going to be based. All right, that's number one. So you can expect to be based somewhere where not a lot of people want to be based in the beginning, and then work your way up. However, the airlines are also very aware that people tend to be happy when they're at home. They tend to be happy when they're close to their family, close to their friends, and the happier pilots they have, the less turnover they have. So if there is a possibility to give you the base that you want from the beginning, they will. Okay, they will try to, which means that you will have the chance to put in base request 1, 2, 3, 4, and they will try to accommodate it. But you don't really have a say in it, which is normal. It's the same as if you get a job somewhere else in any other company that is multinational. They will ask you, okay, if you get this job, you need to go to Turkey, or you need to go to Oman, or whatever, and it's up to you to accept it. So they will try to. You will definitely be able to influence it as you build seniority in the company, but as when you begin, not much. Let's see, Sammy H Potato, where are you flying to from EGSS next? I love landing around with 04 where I ask you on the sim. Turns a lot. Actually, I'm not operating out of Stansted. I am in the simulator. I'm doing check rides on other people, so I'm not operating. To be perfectly honest, I haven't flown for a lot of days now because I've been only in the simulator over the winter. It's a little bit of a downturn in flying, which means that they need TRIs and TREs, and I'm a TRE, so I'm doing mostly sim at the moment, which is also why you're not seeing so many new pictures being posted on Instagram and stuff, because I'm not flying, I'm sitting in the sim. Snazzy Mackay, I mentor. Should I go for a degree in uni first or start when I'm 18 for training? This depends a little bit on where you are. This question comes up a lot. If you're in the US, you're most likely going to need some kind of university degree, in which case I would recommend that. I always recommend people to get a university degree if they can, and the reason for that is that it's always good to have something to fall back on. However, if you're in Europe, if you checked out the airlines do not require you to have a university degree. Well, then you can go straight for your airline training. Okay, so it depends wholly on where you are and what kind of requirements that the airlines that you're aiming for have. More questions here. There was a question about laser surgery. I saw that flicking by. Laser surgery. Right, guys. Once again, when it comes to medical questions, I don't really answer medical questions because I'm not qualified to do so. I have heard that laser surgery is now becoming allowed. However, I would definitely recommend you to, before you go through with any kind of surgery on your eyes, that you contact a qualified aeronautical medical examiner, okay, and talk to them and let them guide you through the process. Make sure that you're doing the right type of laser surgery, and so that they can tell you what the risks are, because in most cases I believe that it's safer to just keep your lenses or keep your glasses, because if you do a laser surgery and something goes wrong and there's complications with it, then you might not be able to get your class 1 medical after that. But once again, like I said, you need to talk to an AME and get them to guide you through that process. I am not the one to do that. Andy Schaefer, is 51 years old too old? I have 780 hours in total time and a decent paying job, not in aviation. So 51, you can, like, this is the when you start to get up in age, you have a couple of factors to factor in. First, you need to still be flexible. If you start at the age of 51, you're going to be treated like a cadet, which means that you might have to move location, and you're not going to get a fantastic salary in the beginning. That's something to take into account. Also, the airlines, even though I haven't heard of any age limits, they might start to look at it a little bit when they see that they only have about 15 years or 13 years of active duty on you, because when you're 65, no matter where you are, you're going to have to stop flying. So at 51, I met the first officer a couple of weeks back that actually started at age 50. He's going for his command soon. So it's absolutely possible, but you do need to be aware of what it will mean to go into the industry that late on. I'm not saying that it's impossible. Everything is possible, but do some research, and then if you still feel like it, go for it, man. You only live once. Triton, have you ever been in an emergency before? Well, I've had a few medical emergencies on board. I've had some minor technical issues, but no full-blown emergency. Thank you. So far, and I'm hoping that I'll go through my entire career without having one of those. That's what all airline pilots are hoping for. More questions. So Sub-Zero, this is a medical question. I don't believe that any kind of skin disease does have any huge impact on your class 1 medical, but check with an AME before. I'm not going to be able to tell you anything because I'm not a trained AME. I don't think you have to be too worried though. Ariel Levy, did you ever fly an A320? I haven't piloted one. I haven't actually flown one. I have obviously been a passenger in one because it's the second most common airliner in the world. But I haven't flown it. I would love to try the Airbus philosophy though. I think it looks like a very, very sound philosophy, and I would love to try it. Two more questions. When are you going to announce the competition winner? Good question. I'm going to announce the winner of the Mentor 360 latest competition next week when I get back to home. So probably next Thursday or so. Then, if I've gotten enough answers, I've gotten quite a few already. Then I will announce the winner. So those of you who haven't already, go in, get the Mentor 360 application, and answer the question that I made in my last competition podcast about it. There will be more of those. I have a few headsets to give away. So get the Mentor 360 app if you haven't already, because it will also be a kind of a gateway into my new application. The new application will be coming soon. It'll be very similar, but very different in the same way. I think you're really gonna like that. I'm going to have a live stream explaining exactly what the new application will do, but it is for you guys, and I really hope that you will like it. I've spent a lot of time and effort to try to make it as good as possible. More questions here. So every one of you who are asking about my airline and what I'm working for and who I'm working for and what I do for that airline, I have decided together with my airline that I'm not going to speak about my airline here on the channel. It's because I'm not a spokesperson for them. I'm just speaking for myself and for my own experience and my own thoughts. And as long as I'm doing that, I'm not the spokesperson for my airline, which means that I'm not talking about them. It's no secret who I'm flying for, but I'm not going to actually talk about them here or in any of my podcasts until they tell me to do so. All right. Right, is there any other questions, guys? Because otherwise I will let you go. I hope you've liked the live stream. When it comes to the app, it will not be available to Windows Store. So there was a question about that, and the reason for it is because Windows Phone is just too small. It costs too much for me to develop the application. So it's going to be available for iOS and for Android. Nothing else at the moment. If it becomes successful, I might be able to expand it, but Windows Phone is too much money for too few users, unfortunately, and I just can't afford it because I'm driving this thing completely by myself. Oleg Kisiak, how to maintain psychological health. Yeah, it's just like in any other occupation, really. Make sure that you surround yourself with good friends, that you have someone to talk to, that you do a lot of exercise, that you have a good working, a good life outside of working, and that should do it. If not, go to a psychologist and talk to them. Make sure that you keep your psychological health up because it's obviously very important. Will the new app be paid? No, it will be free to download. There will be some stuff in it that will be free. However, my courses, the courses that I'm going to do, the video courses, they are going to be paid. They're going to be like 99 cents or something per video, or you'll be able to buy a whole set. If I do like engine failure series, for example, you'll be able to buy that. And the reason for that is because I have to pay for producing it. Okay, but getting the app and everything and the other features that's going to be inside of the app is going to be completely free, guys. So that's the good news. Risers, good for you. Jag kan också prata svenska. Right, guys, I'm going to take one more question here before I go. And let's see if something comes up here. Spoon, I'll take an easy one. Can you listen to music or radio in the cockpit? And the answer to that is if you're flying for a commercial airliner, they will not want you to focus on anything else than your task at hand. And if you're listening to music or you're watching a video or something, you're more likely to miss radio calls, which means that that's not a good idea. So when you're flying in your own Cessna or whatever out in the wilderness, you're free to listen to whatever music that you want. But if you're going to be an airline pilot and you're going to sit in a professional cockpit, you are not going to be allowed to listen to music in the cockpit, at least. I hope that makes sense. Right, guys, that's about it. I hope that you liked it. I really do. I really like these live streams, and since this internet seems to be working, I might be doing more live streams during the weekend if you guys like it. I'm here for you. I want to answer as many questions as I can. You might have noticed that I haven't had time to answer many of the questions on the YouTube feed. Now I'm going to try to change that, but there's so many of them that I can't answer them all. But I will try to answer as many as possible. And yeah, that's it, guys. Once again, thanks a lot for coming here, for taking your time out of your busy lives to talk to me. I'm going to do many more of these, so don't worry if you missed this one. And if you haven't already, get the Mentor 360 app just in preparation for the new app, which is going to be released very, very soon, guys. And I think that you're really going to like that one. So from me, have a fantastic weekend. Take care of yourself. Be safe out there. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.